I hate to hop. Well, this is my shut up. But no, what I will say there is, and even when we think about it from an employment perspective, you know, a business owner, an entrepreneur is, the more you do business with them, you're keeping them employed. So just because, again, it's not somebody that you're hiring to work for your firm, doesn't mean it doesn't have economic value for the city that you live in. You doing business with another business owner helps to keep them in business. And I think that that's really important. I also think, you know, that there needs to be more camaraderie, particularly amongst minority firms. I think a lot of times why joint ventures don't happen and why collaborations don't happen is because people do not want to disclose. And I understand how much they're making, who they're talking to about getting a contract. There's so much tape that needs to be, all this documentation for, are you a minority business, this and that. I mean, you're literally giving your social security number, how much you have in your own personal bank account. I mean, you feel completely exposed by the time that you finish the contract work, just to get certified. So to go to someone else, and you know, as part of being a business owner, I had a business for 3 years, and you know, your ego is tied into that too. So the more you share just how much money you make, and the more you share just how much revenue your firm has, if it's not always exactly what you wanted it to be that year, it makes you feel a certain way. And so I think knowing that you can have that kind of real conversation with someone else, and feel comfortable with that, and come to terms with how you all might be able to pair up and actually go forward together. But again, having that trust and that comfort that you can do business with them, we need to get back to that.
Referral relationships, same concept. But I mean, I remember businesses, in my opinion, don't do it enough. And again, yeah, I have to promote the presence of the chambers in that regard. I mean, if you have a successful business, what concerns me sometimes is that some of our largest successful businesses get to a point of success and then for some reason they step away. Mm-hmm. And part of that, I suppose, is that maybe we need to do a better job of engaging them, but also I'm not really sure why we see that quite as much. And I think if those businesses would stay in the game and talk about the things that they did to help them be successful and then recommend their fellow businesses, that goes a very, very far way.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but I want to make sure we highlight at least one last aspect before our panel ends, and that is the future. What important new trend will we be talking about next year? Hopefully, these two chambers to come back to get together again and host another panel. What is coming across the horizon that is barely taking shape, but will be hopefully all the rage in 1 year from now? It's open to anyone for any thoughts.
I think we're going to see a lot more collaboration between the cities. You know, you've heard of Dallas-Fort Worth for a long time. My sense is that you're going to see something more like Central Texas. And so this is a great time to be on the ground floor, and I think there's a lot of ways that we can help each other in that regard.
Hopefully, there are entrepreneurs out there looking at these growing industries here in Austin. You've got efforts like the medical school coming, with UT, and we need to be preparing to take advantage of all of the business and economic development that's going to come with it. So, I mean, you're always planning ahead, but you need to be studying these industries that are really, really growing, and again, planning so that next year you're more prepared when the contracts do come, because they're on the way, and you don't want to pass it by.
Echoing that point, and I think San Antonio has really done a brilliant job of capitalizing on the military presence and building technology companies around what these military institutions use. One of the things that I think from Google's perspective we hope is we're excited to see what are the startups that are going to be created by the result of having gigabit connections. We don't know that. I mean, if you think about 2, 3, 4, 5 years back, so much changes technologically in such a short amount of time that to say what does Austin look like a year from now is really an open-ended question when you talk about having a 100-time change in speed. One of the things that we're constantly told at Google is don't think about increasing don't improve by 10%, improve by 10x. Think big. Don't shoot for those small goals, shoot for the top. And creating those big ideas that allow you to really have an exponential change is one of the things that certainly excites me about what could happen in Austin the next year.
I guess, go ahead. And I just wanted to say that I hope that there becomes a larger increase of people using their resources and really reaching out to one another, seeing what we can do to help each other's businesses gain altitude as we do go through these changes. Austin is becoming a very diverse city. There are major industries coming to Austin. Like Teddy said, we don't want to be left behind. And so let's start looking at ourselves more business leaders and less of a black-owned business, and say, what can we do as business leaders to gain leverage in this community as we change? Because next year, Austin is going to be a completely different city than it is today.
And I'll piggyback off of Tawana's comment there. I mean, Austin is top of every single list in the country. When I first started this job and I was promoting Austin, people were like, where? And now it's like I'm getting text messages, phone calls, emails, Facebooks, tweets, whatevers from people who are like, I've heard about Austin at least 3 or 4 times this year. What is going on in that city? And so it's an opportunity to make an opportunity out of what's coming to the city. And that's why we are really partnering with Google, because even with Google Fiber, we want to make sure that we advocate to get Google Fiber in different communities. We need to know what it is. We want to make sure that as a chamber, we're part of the technology ecosystem, and Google is at the table for that. We formed the Black Technology Council because we know already that technology is driving Austin's economy. The reason why people keep hearing about Austin is they care about things like South by Southwest, the fact that we have Google here, the fact that we have Dell here, the fact that we have all these technology companies. And if we were to not understand that and to ignore that, we would be doing the biggest disservice ever to our community. And for far too long, that was exactly what we were doing. And so now, as the chamber, and we're proud to partner with whomever, wherever, whenever, we're moving into spaces where I go to conferences and people ask me, why are African Americans interested in biotech? Why wouldn't we be? It's my job, our job as leaders, to understand what these industries are. As Teddy just mentioned, the medical center is coming here. There's lots of medical jobs, opportunities for medical startups. And why would I wait until all these things have already transpired to start to understand what they are, instead of going out and learning about them ahead of time and coming back and teaching our community what this is? And the last space that this chamber is going into is the green industry. And we talked about this at our membership mixer. That's also driving Austin's economy. And I look at what the city of Austin proclaims as its priorities, and we align ourselves to that. Because those are our marching orders, and that's what's happening here.
Fantastic. Now, right? Time, I would go ahead and take questions from the audience, but given